Good afternoon. I'm Charles Carter with the National Emergency Communications Institute out of Atlanta, Georgia. I've come here today for two reasons. The first is to provide documentary evidence of my allegations of fraud against Robert Graham, who is, I believe, your Hinds County Supervisor. But at the time I had a relationship with him, he was a contract instructor for NECI conducting 911 training courses to meet the state legislative mandate here in Mississippi. In 1995, I entered into a business relationship with Mr. Graham to go around the country and train the trainer courses. Then the people that he certified through us were allowed to then purchase training materials to meet the state 911 standard, and then they could turn around and train employees of their agency or other agencies. Now, the State 911 Board under the Department of Public Safety recognized only two courses. One was ours and the other one was another training company. To be reimbursed for the training, you had to take one of the two courses and produce a certificate from one of those two companies. What Mr. Graham did after a number of years of really good service with us is he purchased a training manual from a third training company, not recognized, actually was rejected by the State 911 Board. He took a copy of theirs, disassembled it, inserted some of his own stuff just to make it a little different, but the great majority of that training manual is the same training manual he purchased from another private company. Then he put his own cover on it from his training company that he started here in Jackson, and then represented that to be the NECI course approved by the state. Then he would fabricate his own certificates, give those back to the agencies at the end of the course. Those agencies would then take that fraudulent certificate, turn it into the State 911 Board, and be fully reimbursed. So I believe that's considered fraud in both circles. So, one, I'm here to hold Mr. Graham accountable. The second thing that I came here for today was to provide documentary evidence to an investigative agency who will be investigating my allegations. And this is totally separate from what the state auditor's office just did. Actually, this investigation began in 2006, and subsequent to that investigation, through the state 911's records, I provided all my documentary evidence to the state auditor, which initiated their investigation, and ultimately the result of demand for some $46,000 in return to the taxpayers. So now it's time now that, and we had to wait 90 days after that to see if he was going to pay it. So I didn't want to do anything to involve myself in that investigation and that demand. So now that 90 days has just passed, so I flew in here today to provide documentary evidence to a criminal investigative agency who I'm not at liberty to name, but they said that they will look at all the documents and take the appropriate action.
What agency was that?
I'm not allowed to say, I'm sorry. I've been asked not to.
Is it a state agency? Can you tell us that?
I can't tell you if it's local or state. I'm sorry.
Federal.
Are pursuing criminal charges?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The criminal charges, tell us, what is your basis? I guess is it copyright infringement?
Well, there are several. One, there are copyright infringements where he actually disassembled a copyright protected proprietary intellectual information. Then he represented that as being something that met the state standard, and then he provided documents for the agencies to turn in to be reimbursed out of state tax dollars.
And the copyrighted materials, were those your copyrighted materials?
No. Originally I thought they were actually, and then since the investigation at the state auditor, those documents, since then, other people have come forward hearing about it and say, hey, here's a copy of the manual they gave us, and we're going to give it to you so you can use it. There was one agency, Mendenhall Police Department, who provided me with documents. They were concerned that they may be guilty of the fraud because on the documents you turn in for reimbursement to the state, it says fraudulent entries on this document or words to that effect will result in a criminal charges and up to a $10,000 fine. And they were simply worried that they would be a part of that. And I assured them, well, from our perspective, we're not going to file charges on you just against Robert Graham.
Why isn't the company that wrote these materials coming out here and filing charges?
Well, actually, I just spoke with her. I only recently was made aware of that, where all this time I thought it was our training materials they had copied. I have her name in this press release I provided for you. Her name is Sue Pavetta in the state of Washington. Her company is Professional Pride, and she has agreed and said her phone number's in here, said please have anyone to contact her, the press, the investigative agency, or whoever. She'll be glad to make a statement that Robert Graham did not have authority to violate copyright protection of her training materials.
But so you're filing a lawsuit for her?
Well, I'm not filing a lawsuit. I'm filing criminal charges, or asking an agency, criminal investigative agencies file the charges, but I provide the documents. I'm not filing a civil lawsuit. Don't plan to.
So those criminal charges have not been filed just yet?
Not those. I've provided the documentary evidence, and the investigative agency will be reviewing those over the next week or two, and then decide if they're going to file charges or not.
So, do you believe there was any wrongdoing in the agencies that accepted these certificates?
No, I think all the agencies were misled to believing it was a state-approved agency. I have not. As a matter of fact, I sent a letter personally when I became aware of this to every police chief, every sheriff, every 911 director in the state of Mississippi, alerting them that their employees, if they went through one of these fraudulent training courses, their employees are actually working unlawfully against House Bill 903, which requires, as a legislative mandate, for 911 call takers and dispatchers to become certified by a state board-approved course.
Have you or your company had any communications at all with Mr. Graham or his attorneys?
Only that we had decertified him. I haven't spoken with his attorney. I think she made a comment the other day about that we're welcome to go to the courthouse, the doors are open. Well, she's speaking in civil matters. This is a criminal matter I'm pursuing. I have no plans to file a civil action.
How much money did your company lose because of this, would you estimate?
Well, we've been able to document about between $20,000 and $25,000, but yet that's just after a review of part of the records. We've probably looked at maybe 10% of the records that are on file that we could look at. So we were able to substantiate about 20 to 25, a rough estimate.
So why not file civilly?
It takes too much time and too much money. I have 2 businesses to run, and I don't have time to, for $20,000, $25,000, you'd spend that much in lawyer fees and travel. It just isn't worth it.
I guess I just don't understand how your company in Atlanta would lose money if Robert used a manual from a company in Washington to teach courses here in Mississippi. How do you lose out on money?
Well, because for those people to be reimbursed, they had to buy the training materials from us. And the training materials were $95 per student. Robert Graham would originally purchase, or anybody would purchase those from us at $95. Then the 911 agencies, the police and sheriff's departments, would pay Robert Graham $495 apiece. The state would reimburse the agencies $495 apiece. So we weren't even getting our $95 per student.
But how long ago are you talking about? His attorney says he's been using a different manual since, I guess, 2007, since he left your company.
That's correct. So between 1995 and 2007.
So when did he leave your company?
Well, we decertified him in the summer of 2007. I believe it was June 2007. So before that, we have records from 1999 forward. We haven't looked at all the records, but from 1999 forward to 2007, we found where he conducted many fraudulent courses.
How many people are working in the state that probably have phony, let's just say phony certifications, or not valid ones?
I wouldn't even want to guesstimate till we see the rest of the records. We actually, on that letter, I sent to all the chiefs and sheriffs and 911 directors, advised them, please contact us so you can determine, we can look at our records and be glad to tell you whether or not your employee did or did not go through the official certification process. We only had 2 chiefs to contact us. I believe that's because at a state board meeting within just a couple of months after that, the state 911 director, when that matter came up at a 911 director's statewide meeting, the state 911 director told them, you have nothing to worry about. That gentleman shouldn't have sent that letter out. He didn't have the authority to do it, so you're going to be covered. And the state 911 board actually waived the requirement for the certificate for those employees. And I don't know that I don't believe, in my opinion, they have the authority to waive a statutory requirement for anybody.
So how many 911 employees do you believe are not certified?
I don't know. I would say probably 200 or 300, just based on what we saw.
And these are people that trained under Graham while he was with your company, but he used a different manual.
That's correct.
I guess why wait till now if this stuff happened years back?
Well, I have a letter that I sent to the Attorney General of the state of Mississippi in August of 2006. So I haven't been waiting. I've been waiting on state officials to do something. And it took from that letter in 2006 until 2008 when finally the state auditor asked me to meet with them, or agreed to meet with me and review the documents. And until this past May of 2011, they've been investigating all this period. And I know these things take a long time. But then in May 26th, I believe, when they issued their mandate, their demand, I had to wait another 90 days to not be a part of that investigation. So that 90 days just expired. I'm conducting business in Washington, D.C., and now it was a good time for me to come down and do this.
The state auditor's charges against Graham that they filed against him back in the spring with $45,000, that deals with double dipping. It doesn't really deal with copyright infringement or anything you've talked about either, though.
Exactly. It's strictly to do with the double dipping. As a matter of fact, the only reason they were aware of that, I provided a document to the state auditor from Robert Graham listing his private training company at 3000 St. Charles Street, which coincidentally is the Jackson Police Academy. So that's how they even were able to have a red flag on that.
Have you heard from the AG as to whether they're going to pursue charges in the double dipping position?
I'm sorry, the question?
After the auditor had uncovered the $45,000 or whatever it was, they were going to turn it over to the AG. Have you heard back whether the AG is going to pursue charges in that?
No, I haven't. My understanding from the investigator that was the lead investigator at the state auditor has advised me that they turned it over to the state auditor. And that's the reason I wanted to provide additional documents I've received since that investigation.
There's some people who say this is politically motivated because of the timing. I guess he's running for supervisor re-election. He now has a Republican challenger. I guess, what is your response to that?
Well, I started my investigation and came up with documentary evidence of fraud in 2006, and that's when I first presented it. And I haven't done anything that has to do with the timing of any elections anytime.
Okay, so about how many years would you say he was doing this?
Well, 1999 to 2007, so about 8 years that we have documents.
Okay.
He was operating, saying that he was, when he was working for y'all's company, did y'all realize at any point, or how was it that you came to find out that he was operating on the same time, double dipping? I know that's not what these charges are on, but how did you all find that out?
Well, we never knew he was double dipping until the state auditor revealed that to us. But the alert that went up for us to even get concerned about this is we had various police departments around the state contact us and request their certificates for their training so they could get reimbursed. And of course, when our administrative office would check, there was no record of that course ever occurring. So we refused to issue certificates. And we asked them who their instructor was. And they said, Robert Graham. We sent them, you need to go talk to Robert Graham. But in February 2006, my office received a call from the state 911 board who inquired as to whether or not we had changed our certificate, because you had to have an official certificate from your company on file. And he indicated he was new in the job, and his predecessor had been paying out reimbursement, hundreds of thousands of dollars, on this certificate that was totally different than the one that was on file for us. And I told him I'd like to take a look at that certificate, and we came from Atlanta with another staff member, reviewed it, and said that's absolutely not our certificate. We would like to look at more. So they sent us more and other documents where he had conducted quite a few courses. And with that handful of documents, we requested in June of 2006, we requested to be able to come over and review all their files. And we only spent enough time to do about 10% of them, and that's all we needed to go back to our office, compare our records, and it was pretty obvious at that point. But the 911 board called us originally to say, have you changed your certificate? Because they had these certificates they were paying out on that didn't match what they had on file from us.
I know you mentioned that you had not talked with Mr. Graham recently, but back then, even in 2007 or 2006, did you ever have any personal conversations with him?
Yeah, I notified Mr. Graham that there were some allegations that he had fabricated some certificates for people to get reimbursed. He denied it. And I said, well, all I can tell you is that we're going to be conducting an investigation in conjunction with the state 911 board over in Jackson. All of a sudden, he put in a very large order for some manuals. And so it still didn't cover, the number of courses that he had done in the past by a long shot. And then I wouldn't take his calls after that. He tried to call me several times and find out what was going on, and I just refused to call him because I was in the middle of this investigation. And the next communication was in either June or July of 2007. I sent him a letter of decertification, and I sent a copy of that letter and formal notification to the state board that he was not authorized in any manner to conduct our training courses.
So the bottom line, you feel he was changing the manuals, manipulating them, taking that money that otherwise would have gone to your company?
That's correct.
Did you fill the order?
I'm sorry?
Did you fill the order
Yes,
for the
we did.
manuals?
Yes, we did.
You say you're talking between 95 and 2007.
Yes, 99 and 2007.
99.
It could have gone back farther, but we haven't looked at the other 90% of the records on file.
How long was he with you?
He was with us from 95 until 2007.